the official term, Bobby.
Yeah, this is my grandfather's term. So, yeah. Okay. And then people will probably pop on, but we are recording.
All right. So for everybody that's on here, I appreciate you guys coming. Welcome. I thought last week went really well. Last week we kind of let the teachers talk about how they felt about coming back to school, some of their needs, some of the decisions that they've made. And this week I wanted to try and kick it off by us as parents kind of talking about how we've made our decisions. For those parents that may be on the fence about what they're going to do come October, we got I think the deadline coming up, or at least August 1st, is when they want you to enroll in the online school. So we got some big decisions that some of us have to make. So I wanted to kind of kick it off, just say welcome. And I was going to lead off just by talking about how we've made our decision, what we're going to do. So as of right now, we decided to send our kids back to school in person. That was a tough decision for our family. I'm high risk, at least my doctor says I'm high risk for COVID because I only have one lung that functions. So I have a paralyzed right diaphragm that makes me susceptible to pneumonia. So we had to make a big decision about what we wanted to do with all this. We've really tried to stay at home and all that, but we sat and looked at the numbers. We sat and talked as a family. I think the biggest thing that we made the decision with was the social emotional health of our kids. So back in when we all shut down and we were staying home, our kids I think did really well. I think it was easier for them than I thought it would be as far as just doing their worksheets and reading and doing stuff around the house. But we noticed that they really struggled emotionally, being separated from other kids the way they were. I think when we lost Holly, that was a big eye opener for how much the kids just kind of need each other. I think all the parents that were in Holly's class, I think we noticed that the kids really struggled, and the one thing they really wanted was just to really be around each other. There was things that as parents, I think we just couldn't help with, that they just really need that social bonding. So that was a big thing. And then my youngest, I think he's still not doing well as far as he just kind of clings to his mom and I, just walks around talking to us more than usual, and spends a lot of time in the same, sleeping with us. I think he just misses that bonding, just being around other kids. So that was the biggest thing. And then, that we followed it up with in May and June, we enrolled our kids in rugby. I helped coach rugby. And so through 8 weeks, I think we did rugby. So kids wrestle and tackling each other all over each other. There wasn't any outbreaks. So we didn't have any outbreaks in our house. As far as I know, nobody in the whole rugby program in all the different cities and stuff, nobody had outbreaks. So we sat and looked at that and made some analysis as a family. And I thought it was better for us to send our kids back and, wearing a mask and all things that the state's going to have us do in different schools to make the decision that was better for our families and our kids back. So that's how we came to our decision. Every family's gonna be different and the risks are different and everybody makes different decisions. But that's how we made the decision to send our kids back. And that's, as of 9:09 a.m. on Monday morning. So as of tomorrow or, in an hour, that could change based on what happens. But I know Emily Meldrum, you on?
Emily is on. Emily Meldrum.
So I'm going to ask Emily.
Hey guys, yeah,
morning.
Sorry.
So Emily has made a different decision, or at least she's contemplating a different decision. I thought maybe you could share what's gone into your family's decision.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll just.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I knew that you and I have talked, so.
Yeah. No, it's fine. What was that?
I said we want to see your face.
No, you don't. I rolled out of bed 20 minutes ago. Mondays are real pretty around here. I'll just stay uncameraed if that's okay. So my family, I don't know how to, I guess, put it all into words, but basically my husband and I, we have just decided that for my anxiety and my stress levels to stay at a more reasonable level, that for us, I feel a lot more calm and and in control, I guess, if that makes any sense to anyone. I just feel a little more calm and in control of the situation if I have my kids at home, knowing that that's how we're helping to keep, the numbers of COVID down. And I totally understand that other people have different opinions, and I don't judge people for any decision. I feel like this is just such a crazy situation that all of us are in, and we all have to just kind of, do what we feel is right for us and our families. So that's what we're looking at. As far as school goes, yes, I'm going to be this week. I'm going to be enrolling both my kids, a 5th grader and a 2nd grader, in the online school option. And we'll probably be doing that for at least the first 2 terms of the school year. And then we'll kind of reevaluate, how we feel, and just looking at how Utah is doing, as far as COVID cases go, and all of that. I also have my 2nd grader is very much a fidgeter, and he's a picker. And I really feel like that mask thing, regardless of how well trained he is by us here at home, as far as like, hey, it's mask wearing time. I just really don't feel like I want to send him into a classroom and having a teacher have to deal with that constantly, reminders. Not that they won't already be doing that, I'm sure. But I think, again, that just kind of goes back to a comfort level that I just need to have. In order for me to feel more comfortable, I just feel like I need to have a little more control. And by keeping my kids home, I feel a lot more in control. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if that made any sense, but
I made a lot of sense. Have you made a decision on which online option you're going to use? The full online or the self-taught?
Right. So we're going to go with so there's kind of 3 options if you've looked at the options out there. So there's the online school, mainly teacher-led. And then there's the online school that's more parent-led. So you kind of have the option to like watch the teacher videos when it works for your family schedule. And then the 3rd option is like the independent study, where you're like the parent has to come up with the curriculum, basically, is how I understood that. So I'm going for the flexible online school. So we'll kind of be doing that as our family's, daily schedule allows, and things like that.
So using their options and their videos.
Yes. Yeah. So so the school district, we'll have a teacher that we, can connect with every day, or, however we feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then the kids will also have the option to, join in on meetings with the teacher and other students. And then there's the potential for, small group meetings, like in person, as health conditions improve and things like that. So.
And that option just worked better for your family?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And really, when I watched the district, so the district has a website specifically, focused on the Davis Connect school. And I found that website really helpful. They had YouTube videos explaining, how those classes are going to work, and what a kind of what like a sample curriculum looks like, and as far as using Canvas and for really everything, like the curriculum for the entire term is on there, and then all of the child's assignments and the videos that's where the videos will be posted as the teachers record them. And to me, that sounded a lot more organized, a lot more like technology. I don't know what the right phrase is, but for me in the spring, having a first grader and a fourth grader, their teachers did wonderful. I know everyone, it was a surprise for everyone. And so, whether it was pen to paper worksheets or doing online assignments, it was kind of up in the air and kind of all over the place as far as that went. And I feel like the way that they have Davis Connect has things organized on the website, going into the fall term, I feel like it's just a lot more organized, and it's going to be a lot more easier to kind of manage it all, if that makes sense.
So Emily, let me just assure you of something, just so that you know that if this goes into you decide after your second quarter that you want to send your kids back to school, David is going to mandate that all the teachers have basically the same Canvas program. So it won't be this going back and forth between, either paperwork or the Canvas work or what's going to be happening. Davis is actually putting out their own, like even for us, they're going to be handing us the curriculum and saying, hey, I need you to post this to your Canvas for the first quarter, that sort of thing. And just in case we do have kids, whether they either somebody gets sick or we have somebody that just doesn't feel comfortable coming to school or something, at least they'll have the same curriculum that we'll be doing in our classroom. And so everybody's going to be mandated to do the same thing. So just wanted you to put that out there for you, just so that you know that, because we threw this together in 2 days, got it and going online in 2 days. And so, and that was like the record. I think that we were the fastest school district in the country to actually do that in an elementary setting.
Wow.
So it was really hard to, put all that together in 2 days and put it online. And of course, none of the teachers, we couldn't get together, we couldn't talk, we couldn't collaborate. So it was really hard to decide who was doing what and when and whatever. So now that we are going to have this guide from the district, it'll be a whole lot more consistent with families with one child and with 6 children in elementary school.
Sure. Yeah. That's great.
Help?
Yeah. And I totally, I absolutely respect and love all the teachers 1,000 times more than ever after all of this. And in a lot of ways, I feel too that I'm doing my part in keeping my kids home because I can, you know what I mean? Like because I can keep them home, I feel like maybe in some small way, I'm helping keep the school and our thus our teachers and their families a little bit healthier in that regard. So, but I recognize that that's not an option for everyone. And so, like I said,
I appreciate I do appreciate that, because if you are able to do it, and I was lucky enough to do that when my kids were young too, and was able to stay. And I remember my son in 3rd grade begging me to keep him home and homeschool him. So, some kids just really will thrive and do really well. So, and I think that's wonderful. I think that if you can do that, I think it's great. I have either way, to me, I have no thoughts either way. I probably would, if I was not a teacher, I would probably keep my kids home, or keep the one home that needed to be
would do better, right?
Exactly. And then send the one that you know what I mean, like probably do both, kind of both options, because both options are an option, and they're both good options. So I don't feel like don't feel like almost feel like you think you're hurting our feelings. Don't feel like you're hurting our feelings at all.
Okay.
Where our feelings are not hurt at all, and we want to support you too. So I want you to understand that if you need things from school, if you need us to provide you with anything, we will still be able to do all of those things. I mean, we as
Yeah.
teachers really want to help your child be successful no matter where they are, whether they're in online school or they're in school, whatever they're doing. We want to be a resource for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Love you
I want,
guys. Thank you so much.
I wanted to follow up on something real quick that Jennifer talked about with, so maybe Jennifer and you guys will help me out or answer some questions. So Emily Meldrum is going to pull them out, let's say for two terms. What type of transition can they expect coming back where they were online for 2 terms, now coming back into the classroom?
I'll just speak for what I know, and then I'll let Emily and Nancy talk. But from what I understand, if she's doing her online school for 2 terms, she should be able to pick right up where she left off in that 3rd term. Idyllic, that's the ideal situation. So hopefully in that 3rd term, say Avery comes back, she will be then in spectrum program and picking up where she left off. So, and it's another idea, Emily, is to maybe stay in touch with those your possible teachers in Centerville, so that you can, or someone in that class, so that you can keep up with what's going on in the classroom and know that know what's going on that 3rd term. So that's what, I don't know what the younger grade, but Nancy, maybe you can, Emily.
I think that every classroom has a general pacing guide that the district gives us, and it's true that we follow a general pace in the curriculum. So I think that as long as things are kept up at home, that there should be no problem. And if there was something we needed to work on, that's what we do. We just take everything from the place it is. I think that if you decide to come back to school, there will be no problem just integrating you right in. That we do it all the time for people who move into the area. And sometimes I get kids who struggle, and sometimes I get kids who are far ahead, and we just take you where you are. I think that it must be a hard decision as a parent to think about this one. And I admire all of you for weighing your decisions, and I so respect all of the choices that you're making.
So how about, so following that same topic, one of the biggest things I think I've seen in classrooms, if you don't start the year, is that traditional team building, the forming, storming, norming, all that. So when kids come in halfway through the year, have you thought about how you're going to prepare for that every term as kids come back into the classroom and try and get them back into that, here's the rules, here's where you fit, understand that there might be a week of transition where they don't fit into the group, they have to kind of find their spot. What do you guys think about that?
I think we all are pretty aware this is going to be a weird year. I think it's just something we all know. And even when it's not a weird year, I think once every term, we are revisiting our rules and our expectations and reevaluating how our classroom works and trying to remind people that even if they're not your best friend, you love your family, and you create that environment for your class. And you do have to reevaluate that pretty consistently in your classroom. So even if there's a revolving door, whether that's the right word or not, we are aware that this year is going to have a lot of interesting bumps in the road. And I think that when it comes to at least that aspect of it, having people come in and out, having to revisit rules and expectations and team building and just loving on each other, I think that's the least of our concerns. I think we are prepared to welcome your kids into our classroom at any time with open arms, because we understand, I mean, at least the three of us here, we have kids of our own, and we know exactly what we would hope would happen if our kids had to walk in or out of this situation. And so we just are crossing our fingers that we can make this as smooth as we can for each of these kids in our classroom, because I know they're your humans, but they're our humans, and we adore them, and we want this to be, my kids at home, this is hard. This has been hard. I have a variety of personalities in my home, and it's heartbreaking to watch what this has done for them emotionally. And so we're going back just wanting to just make the emotional part of this, to love on them and make them like, that's the part we're ready for. The virus, the crazy, all the factors we can't factor in. We are just as nervous about that as everything else, but we're ready to love on your humans. That's the part we're excited for. That's the part that we've got that of nothing else. We're ready for that part.
So Emily, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So as a teacher and a parent, what decisions are you making?
My kids are going back to school, and not just because I'm a teacher, because like I said, this was hard. This was really, really, really hard for them. Like I said, I have a variety of personalities at my house. But even like from my most social human to my least social human, this was hard. This was really hard. It brought out anxieties that weren't as visible before. It made them very internal with their insecurities. It made them very in their head. It made them very like they're very worried about things that you shouldn't be worried about when I guess my kids are 16, 13, 11, and 9. Like, you shouldn't be there in your head. But that's what happens when you're stuck in your head for 4 months. And so they're very excited, mask and all, hand washing. We've obviously had a scare of COVID at our house already. It's just, they need humans in their life, and we're very aware. We've read lots of studies, we've read lots of things, and the risks are worth it for them emotionally, because my kids need humans. And I know that there's not all people do, not all people are wired that way, but my kids, this has been the hardest emotional part of their life that they've had to experience so far. And that's saying something, because they've had quite the life. And so this is the factors being what they are. They need humans. That's where we're at. So.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So any other parents, have you guys made a firm decision that you're willing to share and talk about with the group, and help other parents who are maybe on the fence?
This is Nikki Fowers. I have some questions. We were leading towards online school because Gabe is 6th grade, and I homeschooled for like 7 years for his brother and sister. But he after Miss Hansen died, and he didn't know who his teacher was going to be, and finding out a lot of kids aren't coming back. He's not real excited to go back to school if he doesn't have friends. Like his main thing is knowing who's going to be there. But also he's really, really wanting to do the school musical. He loves the game club, playing at recess, those kinds of things. And so I'm wondering, we're still in the deciding factor, but how are those things going to change? I mean, how is lunchtime? How is the interaction with other kids going to be?
So let me jump in real quick. So Kate Todd, so who's going to be the sixth grade spectrum teacher, is a friend of mine, and she's not on here obviously, but she's fantastic. Her and I have talked, and she's kind of let me know what her plans are for spectrum. So I'm excited to see what she does coming out. I know she has huge shoes to fill. Losing Holly was a big deal to the school. But I think that she understands that she's going to have to make it her own and do some unique different things and still kind of keep it within the spectrum focus. So I think that would be I hope that's less of a concern because I don't think that's even an issue about her being a teacher.
Yeah.
As far as clubs and stuff, talking to Eric, if we can't keep him 6 feet away, then we can't do it as of right now. So, board game clubs are out, robotics are out, play is out, all those great things that we love about, Spectrum After Hours or whatever, are kind of put on hold, at least for now. Maybe we can do some kind of makeshift play or something later in the year if things change. But as of right now, it's everything's kind of out. And Jennifer?
It's done through January. I know that we're not doing anything all the way through January. So as far as extracurricular after school programs, none of it's happening until after January.
Yeah, I think not having knowledge of who's coming back, that's tough. I know I see Stephanie Meekum on here. Her and I are in another unique situation with some class issues that's Centerville right now, where things are kind of unknown. So I think not knowing who your friends are is probably a huge concern. And then not being able to reach out or know where everybody's at. Who can you call to ask? And the class lists aren't even final yet because we've got some big changes at Centerville in the 4th and 5th grade. So I saw a hand up, Madison.
Yeah, so I guess I have a question. I'm mostly leaning toward online school, but I guess what are the requirements or qualifications? What if it's a complete disaster? Do I have to wait till the end of the semester, or if a term goes by and it's still awful, could we switch and I send him back, or how will that work?
I believe it's a term. Nancy, am I right? Is it a term? Okay.
It's a term. They ask you to make a term commitment. So, but I also believe that in almost any circumstance, we would try and work with you. And if you make the decision to be online, they also have teachers that you can contact regardless of the type of setting that you choose online. There are teachers you can contact, and just like you would communicate with us as teachers about problems or issues that you're having. So throughout the time that you are doing it, you can speak to people who are there. And I think even though they ask for that commitment, they would be willing to work with you, and certainly we would as well. And we would just have to, just like we take every person individually, well, I think some of that will have to be a decision, that's made at the time and with the people involved. So
Awesome, thank you.
They ask you to commit to a term.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I don't want necessarily speak to the 3 ladies here, all the teachers, but I would venture to guess that all teachers at Centerville have reached out to them. Tyson's going into 4th grade. If you talk to Emily Baker and said, hey, when this isn't working out, we want to come back next term, but we're really struggling now, that she has plans and stuff to help you out, get you going.
Awesome. Appreciate it, you guys.
Yeah. Nikki, did we answer all your questions? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, you didn't really talk about lunch or recesses yet. Like, will it be eating in the classrooms? Are there going to be are you trying to keep the kids completely segregated to their groups, or do you have plans for that yet?
I can speak to that. As far as the JSSC, we are meeting. We're trying to meet this week. There have been some hitches in that road, but we will have staggered lunch times, staggered recess times, where there will be fewer children out on the playground at a time, fewer children in the lunchroom. We have discussed the possibility of eating in our classrooms. You know, and the tricky part about eating is that kids do it with their hands and they have masks on their faces. And so in some ways, it's a little bit better if they go into a lunchroom setting where the room is big and there's lots of air circulation in it. And then we space them apart on the lunch tables and have fewer children in there, and make sure that they wash their hands as they're entering, you know, or sanitize as they enter and exit the room. So those are some considerations that we're taking into place. If they ate lunch in their classroom, it would be a smaller space. I don't know if that makes any sense, but a smaller space for them to be without their masks. There's also been just a brief discussion about, while the weather's good, eating lunch outside, but then we run into issues with food everywhere. So I think that we are leaning towards the option of extending our lunch period time, fewer kids in the lunchroom, spaced out, and just extending our lunch schedule a little bit so that we can do some distancing and make sure that they're sanitizing their hands before and after, and seeing what we can do that way. That's what's on the table. And I'm not saying that we can't have lunch in our classrooms, but that's what we are discussing, and we will make a decision in this next week about specifics, and then we will let you know. We're hoping to have it, our plan ready to go and out to the parents by the time we are sending out class lists, which is about a week earlier than we usually have done.
Well, I know talk with Erica, and maybe somebody can correct me, but as far as out in the playground, I think the ground dudes have a unique job this year out in the playground, where usually it's helping kids play nice and, you know, collecting up all the toys and the equipment, where this year we have no equipment, as far as I understand, because, you know, can't be sharing equipment. And now it's to keep kids away from each other, to kind of social distance. You out there and, you know, telling kids, hey, you know, stay 6 feet away from each other, and chase them around. And, you know, it's going to be a unique situation for everybody.
It will be unique. But one way we can aid that is by extending our recess times as well. And so there will literally not be as many kids out on the playground. And it might be that we have a lower grade and an upper grade, and we physically can, that way they can physically spread themselves apart, and being very diligent about making sure anytime we leave the classroom, their hands are sanitized, that they're wearing their face coverings, and when they come back in, we sanitize again. That's just all part of, you know, so that's our plan for recess time. We'll have some specifics set out in the next week.
And Nancy, I thought I'd heard that they maybe get rid of the 15-minute, the first and third recess. Has that been discussed?
You mean get rid of it?
Well, you guys wouldn't have the early and the late recess, just the lunchtime recess to help with that spacing out.
I am firmly not in favor of this thing.
Well, that's why I'm asking. I know younger kids need that time to go run around.
this last year we had 2 recess times, and so there were more children out on the playground. But I think that we could go to definitely 3 recess times as we've had in the past, and or possibly even, you know, even more 4 if they were shorter recesses. But I think that that time outside of the classroom is vital for all of us, including teachers.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. 'Cause I know that.
Mm-hmm. And so for me, that is not on the table, just because I think we all need that time, and it's the most valuable. If you ask any child at the school, what's the best part of your day?
Recess.
They will say recess, lunch, and going
And
home.
lunch, yeah.
And so I think that it is essential that, I think it is essential that we have recess, that we're outside, no matter what the weather is. So
Yeah, and that's why I asked. I don't want there to be any confusion or if that question's out there, because I know that extending out the lunch times and things like that, that there was rumor I'd heard that they may be doing away with other recesses. And I know some of the younger kids just need to get out and move and get the wiggles out, you know, in between classes, at least for your sanity, if not anybody else's.
Yeah, I would propose that just not be on the table, that we take them away. You know, if we find that it's not a healthy situation, certainly, but I can see, I have a hard time seeing, because a part of the exposure is touching things, yes, and then you touch your face. But if we wear face coverings, and if we are cleaning our hands before and after, I think it minimizes some of that ability to transmit. And just being outside also in its own way creates, a space. So I hope that is not something that is on the table.
Nikki, did you have a question?
Yeah, following up with you guys is, I like the idea, personally, I like the idea of the lunchroom with fewer people, because I agree. If they're in their classrooms, then they're used to wearing masks and it's not social time. Those are all great things, so I like that. But I was just thinking, is there, I know that in last week's Zoom, at least the part that I listened to, part of the discussion was limiting other adults coming into the school to try and keep it under control. But can the PTA be helpful in, can we as parents, or the PTA, whichever way you want to look at it, be helpful in maybe sanitizing the lunchroom or being there to help with recesses? Or I don't know, the trade-off of having more adults to help versus.
I haven't heard that there's moratorium on getting parents out of the school or anything. The opportunities for us to be there, I think, are lower. I think coming in, you get your temperature taken, you have to wear a mask, so that might keep some parents out. That might limit who does come in, but the activities are a bit lower. So there are less class parties, less things like that. But I think that all the help we can get, especially if it's helping clean and sanitize.
Well, we do have somebody, I think, Mike, you know this, that we are hiring somebody just to do the sanitizing. I think that you and I talked about that with Eric.
So through the CARES Act, the school had got some funding to have somebody come in just to do sanitizing, which is 2-3 hours a day or something like that. It's not a lot.
No.
And I don't know what Eric's allowed them to. Maybe it's just this. Maybe it's in the lunchroom, or maybe it's going to the classrooms after they go out for recess and helping out. But that's their one job. They're being hired just to do sanitizing. I don't know if they've hired somebody. So if anybody out there wants a job, call the office.
We are going to try to, I definitely think as teachers are going to, also teach our students, your humans, to clean up after themselves and to make sure that they're sanitizing also, their desks. I know by the end of the time we were there, the end of third term maybe, we were sanitizing desks twice a day, washing hands continuously, you know, practicing our social distancing, you know, as we knew it at that point. But I don't think that we definitely still want parents to come in. We just are going to have a hard time with like, we're not going to be able to do small groups and things of that nature with parents. I mean, of course, they're going to have to be masked and sanitize. You know, we spray you down with Lysol as you come in the front door and you know, that sort of thing. So anyway, yeah, but we still definitely want parents there.
Yeah, I think the lunchroom and ground duty, or at least outside, if you have your background check done, it's been outside. But I would venture to guess that the lunchroom is the more parents that can help, the better. If you can come in for an hour or something out of your day or help out, just because I think it's just whoever is in the office and then the janitor, Don. So I think as of right now, it's them. You know, I don't know about this CARES Act person being hired, but you know, if parents can come in and just wipe down tables and sanitize stuff behind kids, and just maybe keep them away from each other, and that's always be a struggle. I love coming in for lunch and lunch my kids, and I always get suckered into helping out as well because I love being there. But you know, the lunchroom is probably the most chaotic place to be in the school. So the more help, the better. I don't want to speak for Eric, but I'm sure he's not going to turn anybody away if they come in and say, "I want to help out in the lunchroom."
Yeah, I think that we really need parents to volunteer just as we have in the past. And there'll be some specific opportunities for, you know, and each teacher may have different needs, and certainly we will communicate those needs, and we will hope that you feel comfortable coming to school, and that, you know, once again, if you're masked and that you sanitized, then we just will hope it of everybody that that you will feel comfortable coming to the school too and interacting with us and with your kids. So I would say let's try and just kind of make it as normal as we possibly can. So if you come in and volunteer in the classroom normally, let's have you do some of that too, because I think it's very important that kids feel that you feel school is a safer place to be.
And I think probably for maybe some of those parents that are not the type to come in and do a volunteer and just aren't able to be there for whatever reason, you know, work or you know, whatever you have at home, small kids and stuff, to know that the school is, you know, I guess vetting people as they come in, you know, checking the temperature, ask them to be safe, they have to wear masks, all the things that your kids have to do, and you know, socially distance themselves, that you can feel safe as parents knowing that the adults that are there have been checked and they're there for, you know, a positive reason and not just there wandering the halls.
One of the things I wanted to ask everybody, since there's 16 of you on here and maybe you have lots of friends, I'm hoping. So I personally am having a Clorox wipes situation where I'm down to my last one. And every time I go to Costco, they're like, oh, we just ran out. Oh, we just ran out. So if anybody sees Clorox wipes anywhere, I would love to have them, and I will pay $1 over what you spend on them so that I can have them. So anybody that can pick up Clorox wipes for me, I would just be so grateful, and I will be happy, more than happy to pay whatever for them.
Well, that goes into what we talked about last week as far as, you know, what you can do for some of the teachers. And I would venture to guess that no teacher's going to turn away sanitizer and wipes.
Yeah, please. I definitely need both. So.
Anybody else out there has any comments? What's that, Emily?
I think my husband is very tired of me like Googling all the websites to find anything I can for that kind of stuff. So I wholeheartedly agree. If you find anything, and in case you're wondering, I don't know if we can, but I just learned that rubbing alcohol is a fabulous disinfectant. I'm going to ask Eric next time I see him, but that is way easier to find. It's more expensive than it used to be. But
yeah, Emily, I got a gallon of it, and I plan on using that because I don't have Clorox wipes. So.
Right? So that's what I'm asking Eric next time I see him, because it's all over Amazon still.
Yeah, so those are some needs that teachers are definitely gonna have to have, like
Sanitize, because like we said, we have to sanitize every time we leave the room. We have to sanitize desks. Like if they're going to eat in our classroom, they have to be sanitized before they eat and after they eat. They have to sanitize anytime they're doing something of that nature on their desks. Like,
but we're willing to, as teachers, we're
Absolutely.
willing to pay for it, and we're willing to take on that cost. If you guys find it, we'll pay for it.
right. Just
Just
more
pick it up
hours.
when you
It's
see it.
always helpful.
And the district has set aside funding through this CARES Act for providing us with sanitizer and the resources that we need as teachers. They have committed to providing that for us as well.
So when you say that, do you mean like for you, like they're providing like PPE? I mean, I don't know if it's PPE on the school levels, but like for you personally as a teacher or for your classroom, they're providing funds for you to get those things for your classroom.
Yes, they are providing us funds to have, for instance, hand sanitizing stations and the hand sanitizer that goes in them. They are providing, they have been acquiring, they have a mask for each child. They will provide, so it has been part of an extra budget effort in the school district, and the funds were provided that we can obtain them, and they will have them available for us. Did that answer your question? So
yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if in addition to like, so they're providing some supplies, but it sounds like there are still things needed.
well,
like,
I think teachers are very used to thinking, oh, school's starting. Oh, look, here's some wipes. Maybe, if I buy them, or I buy my favorite paper towels. And teachers are used to looking for the things that they need. We see that pencil boxes are on sale at Walmart, and we try and stock up on some things. And teachers are used to just being on the hunt, starting about right now. And so when they talk about, well, I want to be able to have alcohol for my classroom, that just sounds so funny. But rubbing alcohol to be able to sanitize my desk, maybe I need to get it now. But there is funding for providing those things, and so teachers could turn in receipts because there is funding to be able to do this sanitizing. They also have disinfectant that has been approved for use in our classrooms, and they will probably ask us to use that disinfectant that the classroom that they have, which they have buckets of, by the way. And so it's not going to be a situation where I can't find wipes, and so I'm not going to be able to sanitize my classroom. What it's going to be is I may use the disinfectant that the school district provides, and we wipe it off with a paper towel. It might be a little bit different than perhaps we think of, but it will be there, and it will be provided for us to use in our classroom. There will be disinfectant to be able to clean the lunchroom tables in between each time. And so between each class that sits at a table, etc. So the district has recognized that they have to be ready for that, and they have told us that they are going to provide us with things like hand sanitizer, and also, as I said, with disinfectant.
okay, so as like a PTA, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking, if we like did like some sort of a rubbing alcohol drive or something. Do you think that's necessary, or do you think that's more of like a wait till a teacher specifically asks for these things, like a paper, I really need paper towels and things like that?
Well, I think that it's something that I request every year. I request hand sanitizer and wipes and paper towels every year. I think that everything that parents gather together and bring to the school for us to use as teachers, tissues, things like that, everything that you bring means that we can use our classroom funds for the other things that we need. And everything you bring as a donation to the school we are so grateful for it. And so I think that you can go on and you can look at the class lists on the website and you can see the things that teachers have requested. And there are always those things. And so if you're able to provide some of that, I think that it would be wonderful. And every teacher in the school would be grateful for the things that you provide. But we can also be sure that if you can't find some of these things, then the district does have the things that we will need to make sure that we can disinfect. They have, prepared for some of these things.
And I know that the district has done that and has prepared and everything. I think that I feel more comfortable just as for me as a teacher, knowing, and I think Emily's saying yes too, as a teacher, I feel more comfortable not waiting for the district. I want to make sure that my classroom has what it needs when I start day one. And that's what I'm saying is that's why that's why I say I'll pay for it. I don't care about the cost of it. I just want to have that peace of mind that I need to be able to disinfect my room, to be able to make sure that all the surfaces are clean when we start school. And when the kids come in and they're there for the day, can I clean up afterwards? I don't want to wait for someone else to do it. I want to do it myself.
Yeah, we're a little nervous like you guys are. We sit at home and we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? Like I've spent the last couple weeks researching like, okay, we need math manipulatives. We can't share our math manipulatives. How can I create a math manipulative box for each person so they don't have to share their math manipulative? So we go through this in our head each day. What does your student touch each day? How can I make sure that they don't have to share those things with each person? So we're all very aware that the district is going well above and beyond what we need, and we're sure they will provide for us. We're just teachers, and we're used to having to provide for ourselves, and we're just a little nervous. That's all. The unknown is stressful to everyone. That's all.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I guess I just feel like as a parent, this is Emily Meldrum, that because my kids won't be starting, we have at the traditional school, we'll have a little bit of extra funds that I would be, more than happy to donate, towards the school that, our neighborhood school, so that teachers can get what they need. I wish I could buy you all air purifiers, but those are really expensive.
Well, Emily, I'm way ahead of you. I already bought one.
Oh yeah. Well, I confess, my Amazon delivered mine on Friday.
There you go. I'm not taking chances. I have a little bit of a compromised immune system, and so I really don't want to take any chances.
Yeah. All right. Well, expected delivery of tissues and alcohol.
Probably alcohol, right?
Thank you very much. We really
rubbing alcohol.
Don't get excited, Jennifer. But yeah, and you mentioned a little bit there, Emily. As a PTA, we're getting ready to do our budget, so there's some stuff that we can look at the budget to help out at the school as far as buying a ton of wipes, and I talked a little bit about buying masks and have them available, to give out or purchase or whatever it's going to be. So there's some things that we're getting ready to discuss, and that'll be probably next week's meeting. Anybody else have anything that they want to discuss or talk about? Going into your decisions or anything else out there?
Yeah, this is Nikki again. Sorry, just thinking, Mike, if I'm dominating, you guys just mute me off this thing. But
Nope.
you had posted, I think it was you who posted, or maybe someone, those dividers, those PVC dividers. It made me start thinking about seating. I know in both the 2 years that we've been there, the classes have been fairly flexible on the seating, and I'm wondering if that maybe limiting, just actually having their assigned seat and creating some kind of divider. I like the idea of the translucent divider because the kids, we know they're sharing less germs, but they're still seeing each other. And so I wondered, is that something that we could help? Is it something the teachers have considered?
So as I understand it, Nancy and Emily and Jennifer jump in. As of right now, the flexible seating is gone, and they're going to be back to traditional row seating to try and keep kids in one spot so they're not fidgeting and wiggling around and touching things and deciding where they want to sit every other hour. So they'll have an assigned seat, and that's where they'll sit. As far as the dividers, my mom sent me that, and I thought it was kind of cute and unique as far as an idea. I don't know if a teacher thought about something like that. I thought it was actually cool where maybe you have a marker and they can actually write on it and be silly at some points or whatever, and decorate their cube or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if teachers want to jump in.
I sent it to Eric. I haven't heard back from him, but I think it's a great idea. I think having your own space, and at first I thought, oh, if they're spaced out and they could take their mask off for 3 seconds, but that's probably not realistic. But I haven't heard back from him on if it's possible or not. Last I had heard, like I said, things change every day. They all had to be facing the same direction. So I don't think they can be in a table like that anymore. But our rooms aren't large, so I'm not sure what our numbers look like, because last time I checked, I had quite a few kids in my class, and I don't think I could fit that many desks facing all in the same direction. So I don't know if I would have to make something like that if I couldn't face them all the same direction. So I think it's a fabulous idea, but I just haven't heard back from Eric yet.
Well, and I don't think that we all have the funding for that either. It costs a lot, and there's a lot of, just to build them. I wouldn't mind build. I would be fun, but I just don't think that we have the funding for, every classroom.
I would just say, nothing's off the table. So, if parents are interested in that, I think each teacher might have some kind of preference about how things would work. But one of the things that you can be sure of is, yes, the dividers will provide an extra sort of layer of protection if they're, in the space. I also saw clear office dividers. We all have cardboard office dividers that we put up during tests and things. I've seen some things done with that where kids put it up if they're interacting with each other. And so I would say that none of it is off the table. And if it helps, parents to be able to feel like that would make the situation better, we can certainly look at it. And I think teachers have different situations in their classrooms. It's not that the seats that we have are going away or that we have to put them all in rows. It's a matter of how can you fit them in and distance them at the same time. And so I actually think that very little is off the table on how we do that and how we work things in the classroom. because the communication amongst the staff members will be starting up in a week or so, that you have to realize that as teachers, this is probably as much as I have talked to other staff members all summer long. We're all off school. And so as we begin to talk to each other, and as we will as we have our class lists published, then teachers can communicate with parents, and we will encourage parents to, put it out there. If it's something that they are really interested in having, your husband may have a pipe cutter that would help get this done, but we will encourage teachers to express that to you as parents, that this is something that would be really important in my classroom because we have, more desks and less spacing. So I think we can know that nothing's off the table. And we have seen many things that we think, wow, that might work in my classroom. So we promise to let you know as we start communicating it back and forth.
Answer that, Nikki?
Yes, thank you.
So none of us know. It's, like I said, the fair assessment.
Well, maybe we could do a PTA donation of PVC pipe and shower curtains.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some kind of big craft or get together or something we could do if it's allowed. I mean, obviously, like Emily said, that as of right now, it sounds like they all have to face one way. Maybe we can't do that. But I think if there's things that we can get together and do as parents, not even PTA, just as parents and community, to help out with as we move forward, I think like they say, nothing's off the table. So we'll work together and help move this forward.
And I'm not so sure that even doing those dividers, if we even did them, people are saying, oh, do them with shower curtains. We still have to remember that they have to be disinfected. Mm-hmm. And so disinfecting a shower curtain is going to be a whole lot harder than a piece of plexiglass. So, I mean, we've got to think about that too. So it may not be something that's even feasible to do.
And it'd be up to the teachers. We don't want to just force them to say, hey, we made these things for you, you'll love them. I'm like, yeah, about that.
Yeah, no.
No, I definitely think, I think that we as parents are willing to help. So if the principal and the teachers find something that they think would work, I mean, we could, you can buy supplies, tax-free thing, sometimes even the stores might donate some. So that's something that we could help do if we knew. I feel like there's so much uncertainty. And I know you guys, from what you say, you don't know either. So when you know something, let us know and let us know how we can help you.
I mean, I think we all know what's going on as of 10:09 this morning. At 10:10, things will be all different.
I think
I have
that,
a question.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I felt like I was cutting someone off.
Go.
I'm Jenny. Jack and Henry go to Centerville Elementary, going into 2nd and 4th grade. I don't know if any of you know them.
Yep.
What I'm wondering is, I'm a little uninformed at this point because I knew that things were still fluid. And so I've been kind of waiting for a little bit more information before I decide on anything. But as of right now, I'm kind of thinking I'd like to keep them home. One of the reasons is because I've heard on, national radio shows, even Canadian radio shows, that so many schools are facing a problem where they don't have enough teachers and enough space to properly distance the students. You said you don't have much information on how many people are going to be in your classes yet. Emily, you said you have a lot as of right now. Do you think there's a need for people to keep kids home as much as we could so that you have less students out of the school?
Well, I know from my point of view, it sounds like the district has certain numbers that they want to keep. So some of that is out of our hands. It's already been sent out to the parents, but we just lost a class because we didn't have enough kids in there. So the 4th grade spectrum class is going away this year. because there was only 12 kids. My personal feeling is I think 12 kids is perfect for social distancing. That sounds like a great situation.
Well,
I've started letting the district know that, but they cut the class because there wasn't enough kids. Then we do have some classes where there's a lot of kids. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I had someone reach out to me. Jack tested for Spectrum, and he did not. They said he wasn't, but then I had someone reach out to me after that and said, hey, we need more kids for the Spectrum. We're supposed to be recruiting people. But at the time, the lady who's in charge of it, she was having there was a death in the family, and she was, out of contact for a little while. And then I didn't hear anything more about it, and I just didn't really think about it. But part of the reason that they were trying to recruit people for that class, from what I understand, is that the 4th grade regular class was so big, and there wasn't, so now the 4th grade regular class is even bigger.
No,
No,
we are going
From
to.
what we know right now, the Spectrum class doesn't exist. Is that the right word anymore? So they all keep their Spectrum placement for 5th grade. And now the Spectrum class will integrate some of 4th graders that we had before. So we'll have
There will
two.
be 2. Okay.
Yes, we'll have 2 general 4th grade classes. And then based off of those numbers, they'll decide if we also need a 4th, 5th split. So
Basically, I don't know what the heck I'm doing this
she
year.
doesn't know if she'll do 4th and 5th grade this year or if she'll just do 5th grade. It'll all come down to numbers. But it's a big group of kids. I think there's
definitely room for a 4th, 5th.
I mean, when there was 12 kids in Spectrum, there was 34 kids in my class before anyone went. But just by saying that number, don't feel like your kids need to stay home. We have masks, we have sanitizers, we have directionals, we have, like, your kids don't need to stay home because there's people in a room.
I've seen how my child handles sanitizing and washing and touching his face and putting his fingers in his mouth.
You know your kids better than I know. I understand that completely.
They're terrible.
I have small humans. But the number of people in a classroom is not as concerning to me as how your kid's going to do being home. If
Do you worry?
Thrive at home with you, then keep them home. But if your kid's going to struggle at home by himself with just your family, then reevaluate your situation.
Yeah, and when I heard you talking about that earlier, I thought maybe this isn't good to keep him home, because I think academically it's not so bad. I think at the end of the last year, with the help of the teacher and us, he did all right. He might have, learned pretty well, but he is exhibiting some behaviors where he's like acting a little more childlike, and it's kind of like, ooh, why is this happening? Why are you talking like that all of a sudden? Maybe that's why.
We have to remember that these kids have been through trauma. I mean, this has been traumatic for everybody. To just say we found out at 4 o'clock on a Friday that we weren't coming back to school on Monday, and your kids found out about the same time. So nobody left school on that Friday thinking, oh, we're not going back to school for the rest of the year. So it's a very traumatic experience for anybody, for any child, any student that we had. And I think, Mike was talking about Ben and how he's been clingy. If you think about what the trauma is, the trauma was that we've actually put fear into these kids, and we've got to be able to support that and act like, oh, this is great, everything's good, the mask is good, the sanitizing is good. We've got to be a level above that fear so that we can help these kids stop being so fearful of getting sick, a coronavirus, parents getting sick, or whatever. And I think that that's what we really need to, and I said it last week, I'll say it again. The first 2 weeks of school for me is not going to be about teaching. It's going to be about their social and emotional wellness more than anything else, because of the trauma that they've been through.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
with Ben, it was tough, and I think Ben and Jack were in the same class, or at least we were, in third grade together. Um, you know, like I said, I mean, he was clean, and some of that is as parents. I mean, we made mistakes, I'm sure. Doing what was best for us at the time, or not thinking about how it's all going to impact us. I mean, we try not to talk about the big impacts and try to keep them naive about it, or ignorant about it. But in the mornings when this all first started, we would have the news on, just understanding what was happening, and the numbers are there, and the kids probably see that, and that the death toll rising, and they hear those things, and whether it's apparent to them or not, I think in the back of their head they know that this is a big deal for our world, or beyond our countries, for our world. So I think that impacted it, and then just not having kids around, to share those feelings with. There's ways that they talk to other kids they don't talk to adults, and having kids share those ideas, saying, hey, I know this, I know that, because I know, I'm sure as a parent, too, when the kids come home, we don't know anything because their friends told them what the real story was, and no matter what we say, the friends always know. So there's nothing we can do to change that. So I think they need that. That's why we chose, the big reason we chose to send them back. Now we're dealing with the situation, like you said, with the spectrum is being cut. Ben was in spectrum, so we have to decide if we're going to stay at Centerville or not. As of right now, we have the choice to leave Centerville and go to another spectrum, or stay. And I know Marcia emailed me. So Marcia and Shauna were the spectrum teachers. She emailed me and said that for the spectrum kids that do stay, and the kids that tested for spectrum that were just out, that they want to try and pull them together into a kind of a pseudo spectrum class. So like Jack might be in the pseudo spectrum class, where it's not officially spectrum, but they're going to try and follow the curriculum as best as possible and do what spectrum did, just to maintain those numbers, and pull some of the kids out of Emily's class and some out of Jennifer's fourth split, put the numbers up high, and have that pseudo spectrum.
that would be kind of cool, because if there was one category that kind of left him out of it, but many of the teachers that have interacted with him have said, yeah, that would be really great for him. So I was kind of bummed. I thought that would be
oh yeah, it's so weird that we didn't have an end of year testing, so we don't know where kids are. Obviously they missed several months of school, they were going through all this stuff, and now we're saying, hey, you're not good enough to be in this class, or you just missed it, regardless of what your situation was in the year. So I think it's just a bad situation all around, but we'll make the most of it. And I know Marcia said they're gonna make the most of it, and they're meeting with her to kind of discuss that. But I don't think numbers are a big deal as far as class size. It is a big deal. I remember I grew up in a small town, New Jersey, and we had 14 kids in a class in elementary school, and we graduated 30 kids from 8th grade. So when I went to first time I saw my kids in school, there was 30 some kids. It blew my mind. I was like, "This, you can't do this." But our kids have done well. The teachers make do. I think there's things that they miss, with that many kids, and they do their best. But I would like smaller classes. I don't know whoever gets smaller classes.
Yeah, because is there room to distance? Is there room for social distancing with that many kids in the classroom?
You would be surprised how resourceful we are.
I wouldn't be surprised, but there are physical constraints that even you guys cannot get around.
Right.
Well, and I know Eric was talking about that. The district's been talking about some studies where 3 feet is as effective as 6 feet, and I think that they might be using that as to have at least 3 feet out to 6 feet, with 6 feet being kind of the standard. But they are looking at least 3 feet, something that I got told, and that's as of last time I got told.
That's the new information they've got for us because they want to put kids back in school.
I wanted to ask Mike a question about the spectrum real quick. Do you think that we could, like you're saying that Jack just missed it by a little bit because in just one category? Okay.
I don't know.
So what my question is why couldn't we go to the spectrum program and say, can we give them a year to see if they actually qualify in that spectrum and keep that 4th grade spectrum? Okay.
Well, it would depend on what their number is. I know from Max. So Max was on a year to year because his math was like just below a certain number they had to have. So he was on a year to year, and it was always every year was like just below. It was like 78 and had to be 80. So they give him a 1-year placement, and then his test score to be a certain thing. It was just under again, and they go to total numbers and say what they can bring in, as far as I understand. But whatever kids weren't in, and unfortunately, I don't know what the numbers were for those kids or whatever, but it must have been just below where they couldn't let them in, or numbers.
They did talk about, before knowing that we couldn't switch classrooms, they did talk about like, okay, these are the 12 kids that will stay in this classroom. These kids made it for math, so they'll come in and do math. These will come in for English. But because we can't go in and out of classrooms all day, it just didn't work to, at least this year, do it that way. So there's just no way to create the environment they needed to in the classroom they needed to with the constraints we have. So it's
Marcia had reached out. I'm sure she's talking to Emily and Jennifer about how they're going to do this. But I mean, this is the reason we don't have class list yet, is because there's obviously changes coming several grades.
At least for 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And the other 12 kids, I think 2 or 3 weren't from Centerville. So I highly doubt they'll stay at Centerville. They'll probably go to, we were given the choice of West Bountiful or up in West Point. West Point's kind of a hike from here. West Bountiful is not too bad. So, I mean, we have to look at going down to West Bountiful. And I actually got a call from the Spectrum people just a little bit ago. I called them back. But I don't know. I mean, she said that they're going to try and recreate a Spectrum environment. Pull kids that like tested or maybe are in that environment and then try to pull them in and do that type of thing. Either way, it's going to be great. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
No, I think that, oh, never mind.
Oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh no, do we have emails and stuff already that kind of tell us what opening school is going to look like? Is it, because if so, I don't want to waste your time. I just haven't looked. Is it every day, 5 days a week, normal time, or are they going to be just staggering the start time?
The only thing from times I understand is going to change is the release time. So they'll get released at different times. And maybe Nancy speak to other times.
That's, yeah. And the thing is, there will be, and we will communicate class sizes lists will be sent out. And we will know a few more of these things as the district has, asked that parents enroll if they're going to do the online classes. And we will know a few more of those things, a lot more in a week than we would do right now. And I know it's difficult to wait, but we are meeting as a JSSC, which is the Joint Staff and Committee meeting, and we're going to determine some procedures and policies for our school, and that will be coming out within the first week of August. And normally those parent emails come out about the 10th of August, mid-August. So we are trying to commit to having them out a little bit sooner than we normally would, with the understanding that, some classes may have to change, even though we have published those class lists, depending on enrollment and who decides to do online classes, etc. I know that there is a lot of anxiety over, how is it going to start, but you can be absolutely assured that we will communicate with the community, that we will have start, and for right now, times are as they are usual. We will have times, separate start times, like so that we can stagger how children are coming into the school and how they are leaving. And we promise to communicate that with the community. In regular years, that communication starts up about August 1st. You start to receive something about, coming back to school in the first week of August is as soon as it ever comes out. And that's true right now, that we're putting that plan together, and you can be certain that we will have a plan for those kinds of things, times that lunches will be conducted, and how all of that's going to operate, that we're working to put it together, and as soon as we can, we will communicate it. And you can just be certain that it will change, but that's okay. But we want you to know that we're thinking about it, and that we're working on it, and that it will be coming. And the answer is no, you probably haven't received emails from anybody but the district. They have sent out, and they have things posted on their website. So, but that's because we still have about a week of July, and that machine really starts to move come August. And we understand that you, and we too, as a staff, we haven't had specific instructions, but they are forthcoming. We promise to be transparent about what we'll be doing.
And I think part of that too is that, like, the news in Utah is so broad because it stretches from the northern part of the state all the way down to St. George. So some of the stuff we're hearing is outside what Davis is doing. So you get confusing information about Salt Lake School District's doing one thing, Granite School District's doing another, Ogden Weaver's doing another thing. So, and not every single district's doing the same thing. They're following the basic guidelines given by the state, and then they're taking it to their own thing. Or Davis is doing what Davis believes they should do. So, is there any more comments, questions out there?
I think maybe this is a little bit of a broken record, but the one thing that we can all do right now is to minimize transmissions in our community. Because the more that we can do that, and the more we can advocate for the people who live around us, that if we can reduce those total numbers, that it will benefit not only us as families, but it will benefit the school. Salt Lake City was a month ago where 50% of the transmission cases, 50% of the cases were in Salt Lake County. But when they required masks across the board, their numbers within weeks have dropped to 35% of the new cases. And I think that as a community, if we can rally behind our kids and say, if we can reduce the total number of transmissions, then it will be safer for all of us, and as we return to school. And I cannot advocate that enough. And if I could stand on a giant soapbox on the roof of Target and broadcast it, I would. But each of us can be an advocate for the fact that when we do these things, it makes a difference. And we will do them at school, because it will make a difference in school and how safe our kids are. And so, whether we have dividers on our desks, those in particular details, we will have face coverings on, and we will be cleaning our hands. And those are the things that make a significant difference, and those are the things that we will do.
I wish you could get on a soapbox on Target, because I just can't believe the people that still don't get it.
Yeah.
Please
But
don't.
we can all make a difference in communicating that.
No matter what was said today, we know that your decision is so hard and so personal to your family. And we will 100% respect what you choose and do whatever we can to support your decision. We will support you. We will include you in whatever ways we can in our classrooms. We will welcome you back with open arms. We will give you whatever we can. We will do whatever we can for you. We know this is not an ideal situation for anyone, And making the choice of being in school or online is such a personal choice to you and your family. And no matter what we say or do or how we generalize a situation, we don't know you or your situation. So please know that we hope that even though we're saying what we think and feel for what we know that your situation is individual. And we hope that we can support you however is right for your family. So please know that we're here for you, whatever you need and whatever we can do. We will do our best to support you.
Thank you. Really quick, I'm just wondering, I didn't know about this until Maddie Durham told me, hey, this is starting right now. Here's how you get on. So I got on. I've got, you know, a fourth grade dad and a couple of fourth grade teachers. How did that happen? Is this a fourth grade meeting or is this just luck?
Well, just kind of worked out that way, I guess.
Wow.
So I'm on
What-
I'm on PTA, so I'm here, and then I knew Emily would want to be a part of the forum, and Nancy, of course, because she's our JSSC chair. So we want to be here. It's not something that we have to do, but as a teacher too, that I can conduct a Zoom meeting and it can go on forever, where if a parent does it, it doesn't, I think you get 40 minutes or something, I think Mike said. So that's why I just kind of, I have it set up on mine from every Monday at 9:00. And then Mike sends out the information about it. And so I just get on about 8:45 and whoever wants to join can join. And I usually am texting Emily saying, don't forget about PTA and all the Emilys. So
There's a lot of Emily's.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that, I mean, you know, as a PTA, we set this up, but this obviously isn't necessarily a PTA thing. You know, we just know that there's a lot of anxiety out there, a lot of questions, more questions than we have answers for sure. But if we all sit and talk like we did today every week, and maybe we just, you know, relieve some anxiety, or at least get your questions out there. So maybe somebody has the right answer, you know, an alternate point of view. And that, you know, like today, that was kind of what we wanted to talk about was the different points of view of what you're gonna do with your kids. You know, I'm bringing my kids back as of right now, as of 10:33. My kids will be going back because the anxiety levels in my kids were at a level that they just need to, they need that social emotional thing that, you know, as parents, we just can't give them. We can do a lot of things to make them comfortable. We can't make them, you know, as comfortable as being around friends and kids and playing. You know, play is a huge thing and just hasn't been happening. You know, Emily Meldrum talked about, you know, her anxiety levels and a little bit like some of you guys talked about. You know, bring your kids back to school and the anxiety that goes into that. You know, just maybe that's better off just being at home where you can have control. You know, I think she talked about having control over those levels and be able to control the situation. You know, where she's teaching them, but you know, there's 3 teachers here and there's plenty more at the school that they're willing to help you as, you know, in addition to the online education. You know, Emily talked about being a teacher and Emily Baker talked about being a teacher and what her kids needed. You know, she knows the situation at school, but she also knows what her kids need. So there's no right or wrong answer. The reason we want to talk about this today is because the first is when you're supposed to enroll in online school. So I know a lot of parents in this room and that'll be watching online have a big decision to make this week. And we want to try and get as much information out there for them as possible. So, any other questions?
It was nice to meet some of Jack's possible teachers for next year. That it's helped seeing your hopefulness. So thanks.
All right, so it's been an hour and a half. If there's nothing else, then we'll wrap it up. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming on. Yes.
I just wanted to say thanks. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate the conversation.
Well, we'll be doing this every Monday, so spread the word. You know, if you have a topic you want to talk about next week, maybe we'll figure something out. I have some ideas. You know, we'll try to keep changing it, but okay. So we'll next Monday, same time, same channel, and I'll send some stuff out to remind you. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Have a great week.